Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and we're having our Trump coffee, and we're going to try to bring you on another video. And I think we are stuck on cheek rest for the moment. I'm trying to go through all my guns to make sure that I have my cheek rest exactly the same height for every gun, so that when I rest it there, they're all going to be where they're supposed to be. So now we were on the Diana Stormrider, and we're going to do basically the same thing that we did with the Avenger. I'll get that and show you what I mean. So what we have here is these turn knobs that I make. I'll 3D print, and that's these right here. And basically I have to mill in a slot and put 2 set screws in. So if I was to loosen these 2 set screws here, I could turn this to bring it in or out, or turn this up and down. So we're not putting a butt pad on it, adjustable butt pad, but we are going to put a adjustable cheek rest on it. So I've got my cheek rest ready, and we made 2 of them. We made one for the 177, and we made one for the 22. This one's the 177, and I put on the side of it, probably can't see it, but Diana Stormrider 177, stocked by Bison. So that's going to go on there just like that. So what I've done is taped it up to mark where everything's going to go. So this hole and this hole are in line with each other, and these two, this line is parallel with this line right here, so that when you go up and down it stays straight. And then we got a center one we got to drill for a threaded rod, which is going to be 1/4 20, and then we will mill out this slot right here, and that is parallel with the top of this. And we'll mill that out so that these thumb screws will go in there, and they will stick out on the top but barely stick out on the bottom, because the bottom is a little wider. So that'll work. It should work. If not, we can make that bigger if we need to. We'll see. I think I'm going to have to make this bigger, because this stock might be a little bit too wide. But we'll see. It might work out. I just need a little sticking out so I can turn it. But I don't want so far in that it looks dumb. So we'll see what we're going to do with that. But the next thing we got to do is get this stock off of here and take it out to the mill. And I'll meet you out in the mill, at the mill. Alright guys, we're out here in the shop. A little colder out here than it was in the house. And we've got our cheek rest made. And I did a little valley here in the front of it to kind of come back as a point. I thought that looked pretty cool. I'll give you all different angles of it. And then I made a flat bottom here, and it doesn't really matter what the inside of that looks like. That's where your support starts from the bed and puts there, so that it supports that, because it's a 90-degree overhang. So it turned out pretty nice on the printer. I had to do a bunch of sanding on it, and I still got a lot more to do to it. And I got 2 of these to do. So basically what I'm doing here is, I got this piece of aluminum that I just milled a flat on the top of it. I got to mill it again, but it's straight enough to show you guys what I'm doing. So I got a parallel in here, and I'm milling this down to fit right in there like that. Perfect. So I've got a little bit more to go. I got to take some off of that so it will set flat in that square place or flat spot. So once I get that cut down and 45, because I plan to 45 these right here so they're not sticking out there square like that, I'll 45 them so when I put this in there, I just need enough room to put a screw into it and to use as the cheek rest. So I got to have a threaded rod in the middle of this, and then I have to have 2 pins, one on each side. And we're probably going to I got to redraw. I just realized something. I got to redraw something because these studs are going to land in the wrong place. I took the measurements on the stock, as y'all seen, and I measured these here pinholes to be right where these are at. That can't happen. I'm glad I caught that. So there is actually a way I could do it. I'm using a 1/4-20 bolt. I wonder if I could take and drill the end of that bolt once I get it up into the, let's see what I mean here. My mind's working. You guys ain't in my mind, but I'll probably confuse you. What I could do is put my studs there in that spot, and then once I've got the pins, because the pins are going to be threaded in, so I can remove them if I ever want to. So I'll thread those pins in, and then I'll just drill and tap the end of those threads and put my 1032 screw in there. That's what we're going to try to do. So I've got to cut some of this off, and I think I'm just going to go right out to the edge, 45 it, and the edge, 45 it. So let me mark that, and we'll get started doing some work here. Enjoy the music. So now we got our plate, and then that will go in there just like that. That don't look bad. Probably could have went back a little bit further, but I want as much meat as I can get in it. So now we got to mark these 2 holes right here. So we'll mark that. And then we'll go ahead and drill them out in the center. Alright, so now we got to drill a hole in the center of that. So now we can take those out. That part is done, except for chamfering them holes and clearing off the back side of it. So I'll just take me a chamfering tool whenever I can find it. We've got a plate that only goes in this one way. It goes in that way right there. And I like that it only goes one way. So now those holes are lined up right with the 1032 screws that I'm going to use. Now I'm using 5/16. So I'm going to use 5/16 in every one of these. And I'm probably just going to Loctite those in place. I mean, I could use a nut on it, which I may do, but that will restrict you another 1/4 inch worth of down travel, which it really doesn't matter. It's never going to be down in its lowest setting anyway. So I'll probably just use a jam nut. That way these can be taken apart and I can change the pins if I ever want to do that. And it'll keep it nice and tight. So we got to make 3 equal pins that will thread in to these places. And these 2 pins, this one and this one, once I've got it threaded and tight and this is level with the top of this, then I can lock it down with my screw. Then I'll take and turn this down the rest of the way from the nut down to where the threads are just gone. Alright guys, we've got our base made, and that will screw in there with the 2 screws that holds the cheek rest to that. So that becomes one unit. Now what we got to do is take these 2 to the lathe and turn the threads off up to that nut. Alright, so now that's number 1 pin. So chamfered the end of it, it's got a hole in the end of it. This here is threaded for 1032, which I think I need to take a tap through it a little bit, ream it out a bit more. Maybe clean it out. Helped I blowed the chips out of it, huh? And there we got it. We went 12 millimeters deep so that this would bottom out on this. Now it's not going to bottom out on this because remember we still got the thickness of the cheek rest. So let me get this other one made and we'll be back. Alright guys, we've got this drilled out to accept our cheek rest. Just like so. And that is the lowest it will go, which is right at the bottom of the nut, which is fine. And I just drilled these holes exactly the same length as from the edge of that nut to the end of this. That way it has a stop. Alright, so now the next thing we need to do is drill our holes in the side, tap those, and then we got to put the thumb wheel in it. Cut that out. So I'm probably just going to do these by hand. That's the way I done my other one. I just got to make sure I got some set screws. Alright guys, so now we can take this out and hope we don't have no skin marks on it. Well guys, my battery's getting ready to go dead, so we're gonna stop this and go in the house and finish it up. We've got our holes cut. We've got our cheek rest ready. And that will go down in there. Just like so. What do you think, guys? Alright guys, we've got the gun mounted back in the stock. I painted this inside here black. I ain't worried too often much about this up here because you ain't gonna see it. So I mean, I could have painted it black and made it uniform, but I didn't. So anyway, I had to 3D print a bigger thumb screw or thumb wheel, as you can see, and a little bit thicker. So now we can put our wheel in there and it's sticking out barely on both sides. So now we can go ahead and stick our cheek rest in. Line the hole up. And right there's where it gotta go. So now we can tighten our set screws up. And she's tight. Like I said, I got some more sanding to do on this. But I kind of like that little dipple I put in there. It looks pretty sharp. So now, if you decide to do something like this to yours, keep in mind that on this, it's got a cheek rest on this side. So this is actually a opposite of the way I shoot. This should be on this side if it's for me. But anyway, I really don't pay much attention to those, but you notice that this is a little closer to the edge of this. That's only because this is further out from the center than this side is. So this is still closer to center. It's still not perfectly centered to the scope, but that's all right. I didn't want to go over that way any further because I wanted to be in the center here when I did my holes. So that'll work. So there is the Diana Stormrider 177. And I got to do the same thing to my other one, which is going to be a little different. Since it's a plastic stock, it was hollow, but I think they put something down in it up until about right here. The wooden stock, it was not that big a deal. I did get a little chip in the stock there where I didn't want it to be. I got a little chip there that broke out when I threaded that. I didn't realize I was going that close to it when I was milling this slot out. That's why I had to go bigger, because I went too big. So, and these holes are not lined up perfectly. I don't know how the mill did that, but I know I trammed that in. But it went off. But that's alright, it still looks good. Look at it from that side. And look at it from that side. Look at it from that side. That way. I think it looks pretty sharp. So I just put a metal barrel band on this. I had these that I printed, but because they're so small and you can only put but so big a screw in there, it wasn't holding my barrel straight. And if I was to go into the gun cabinet, because when I go into a gun cabinet, that's how I grab my gun, right there. I grab it by that. And every time I grab it, I could feel that barrel move to the side. Well, that just threw my scope off every single time. So I come to the conclusion that this band is for a, in a pinch. And the barrel band works fine if you don't pick it up by that. But just lean it in the gun cabinet and get a little trajectory going in one direction, it could move the barrel. So I decided to go ahead and replace these on both this one and the 22. So I got them, it came from Germany, I believe. So it's got a little bit of German in it. Anyway, hope this didn't get too long. Don't forget to have your Trump coffee. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.